The Occupy movement is a campaign to expose social and economic incongruities that began as Occupy Wall Street in September. More influences have come from the protests in Spain, Greece, the Arab Spring, and the success of the Egyptian and Libyan revolutions. Duke University professor of literature Michael Hart defines issues driving the movement.
There has been, at least since 2008, a recognition of social, financial, political problems related to the control of finance, economic inequalities in the U.S., all these sorts of things.
The Occupy movement's growth suggests redirecting its structure to a more organized form that will have a strong influence in the 2012 presidential elections. A clear definition or leader could be the next step. Hart admits that the revolutions have helped some Americans express their discontent more openly.
They did provide inspiration and a way of imagining how we could do it.
The Occupy movement has reciprocated the influences from the Arab Spring, inspiring movements in other parts of the globe. Heather Godney, an assistant professor of anthropology at Fordham University, presents the next challenge in the evolution of the Occupy movement.
This is a popular movement, and so you have a variety of actors coming from different kinds of organizations like unions or community organizations or NGOs, even political parties. So in order to accommodate or respect the autonomy of these different institutions, you can't have these sort of formalized, centralized leadership structures.
Author Robert Monks, who has written Corpocracy and New Global Investors, believes there are certain similarities between Occupy Wall Street and the Tea Party, in that they both express discomfort with the U.S., but they are manifested in different forms.
The Tea Party seems to be reasonably well organized and financed and with a capacity to produce candidates and to produce funding for those candidates and to function in a competitive political environment. The Occupy Wall Street movement appears to be far more spontaneous. It doesn't appear to have a platform or affiliation with the conventional political system or the resources to pursue specific objectives like the Tea Party does.
Hart puts forth a different understanding of the Occupy movement structure.
I think that what I would call it is the horizontal or network structure of the movement, really on a horizontal basis. You have to think of it as equality, people on the same plane. And which, of course, doesn't mean that it's disorganized. In fact, it means that there has to be much more attention paid to organization and figuring out ways to organize in an equal or democratic way.
Anastasia Karklina, a sophomore at Duke University currently organizing the Occupy Duke movement, agrees.
It provides some sort of democratic platform for people to make their voice heard. And while there's a lot of criticism of the movement, saying that it lacks focus or certain agenda and demands, I think nationally it's a great opportunity for people from different walks of life, from different backgrounds, to come together and actually discuss the pressuring issues that this country is facing.
Hart agrees and sees a logic in the approach.
That form of organizing to me seems particularly appropriate if one of the concerns of the movement is about democracy itself. So it seems that a social movement should practice and even experiment with what it's aiming for at a social scale.
University of Southern California sociologist Nina Elisoff presents the need for the Occupy movement to produce not a leader but a spokesperson.
A spokesperson is just supposed to give voice to the ideas that the group has come up with. And so they're not supposed to initiate anything. They're just supposed to report a coherent message. And they're not supposed to take the group anywhere new.
Godney supports the concept of a spokesperson versus a leader.
If the movement had leaders, then there would be a fear that the political orientation of a given leader or group of leaders would be the sort of political identity of this movement. And so in order to avoid this kind of infighting and I think reduction of the issues, they've opted to maintain this kind of network structure.
Godney explains the importance of having decision-making bodies.
when things need to get done, then representation becomes, a kind of necessity.
Elisov believes that each Occupy should appoint their own spokesperson, and eventually some coordination would be useful at a national level. Godney agrees.
I think it's going to be a little different. That local Occupies will have their own path and their own experience.
Horizontal or network movements are not new for the U.S., and there have been shares of successes and failures. The eventual organization and structuring of the Occupy movement could result in the amount of potency it will have on the election. Only time will tell if the Occupy movement will create any permanent changes in the U.S. political or economic spheres. For War News Radio, I am Lucia Luna Victoria.